Good morning, everybody. Travels with Dottie here, and I had a video that had quite a few responses on it, and I read many of them in my regular comments videos, but there are quite a few where people talked about their thoughts and what they've done to facilitate their retirement. Many of them RV related, some not, but I thought they were all really intriguing points of view and good stories. So I'm going to present them to you now. The first one is from Tommy. All your videos are making a difference in my life. Your honesty about income shows me that about where you are, so I should be okay when I get out there. All your videos on your daily life gives me an idea of what I'll be in for. You're always positive, which is hard to even, it was so hard to be even when you try. Proud of you in what you do for us, a good friend. Make them as long as you want. 2 minutes, 2 hours, or 10 minutes, he says. That's nice, Tommy. D. Del Woe says, based on this video, thank God I started saving money into my 401k the day that I started my real job back in 1989. And whoa, that is brilliant that you did that and started in 1989. I bet you can do almost anything that you want. And that's what this is all about, is figuring out what you have and what are your options. And sometimes the more money you have, the more options that you have. So good for you. Good for you. I think I mentioned in the video, if I had it to do over, I would have just like a discipline, 10 cents out of every dollar, just throw it in the bank account. And King for a Day has a concern that a lot of people have, a good one. He said, my concern would be getting into the RV life, and at some point you, your spouse, or both realize it's not what you thought it was. You get tired of it, burnout, health issues, etc. All your, quote, stuff is now gone, and you're back at where you were when you first moved out of your parents' house, except you're 71 instead of 21, way more time behind you than ahead of you, pretty much unemployable. Okay, let's break that down. That's a legitimate fear, absolutely. But I'm sorry about the sun's doing weird stuff, but I hope that's not too distracting. Let me see if I can angle this a little better. Does that help? Lots of people do this lifestyle and decide this isn't what I want, and they go back to regular stationary living. And one thing that you can do is, if you can afford it, keep your house, rent it out, Airbnb it, whatever. If that's not practical, you can always rent an apartment somewhere. You can put things back together. And as far as your stuff being now gone, my stuff is gone and I don't miss it and I never will, but you may be different. I understand that. So consider, since you're mobile, right, find a very inexpensive storage service and store your stuff. Store it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it takes for you to be satisfied that you don't want that stuff anymore. We can always store it. You can maybe a relative's house or a friend's house. Think about it. You have to downsize to get into an RV from a house. There's no doubt about that, even an apartment. But you don't have to get rid of your stuff. Pretty much unemployable. I don't think so. You're 71. How employable are people expecting you to be? How much job experience in the past 10 years? It's very common for 71-year-old people to come into the workplace after 10 years retiring, decide they want to do something. That's very common. I don't think you're unemployable at all. I understand the fear, but I don't think it's really accurate. Now, going back to the career that you had 20 years ago may not be possible. Too much time has gone by, but you're not unemployable. Bob Draba says, I was fortunate in the last group that I got a pension from the company I work for. Yeah, I was talking about how rare it is for companies to have pensions. I have a small pension, 2 pensions. One is from a government job and the other one is from a private company I work for. It's very small. It was a company I worked for 7 years back in the 90s, and I think I get $500 and some odd a month, but That's a pension. That's rare. Doesn't exist much anymore at private companies. He said they also had a very good match in our 401k. We worked at being debt free long before retirement. So Bob is probably in darn good shape. And I'm really sorry about the sun lighting half my face. Maybe if I move the chair over a little bit. Watch out, Dottie. Dottie's out here with me. How's that? Is that, I don't know if that's any better. We'll try to work like this. How's that? Okay. I got to get back to my pictures. Miguel Martinez, awesome video. I just subscribed, first time hearing from you and enjoyed listening. I and myself are going to retire this year. I did a little different though. I've got a home base that's been paid off for a long while. And now I'm looking for an older motorhome and want to do some traveling. That's great. If you have a place that is paid off, you don't have a mortgage, and you have pretty reasonable property taxes. I know you can live in places where the property taxes are not very reasonable. That's a good option. And again, you could consider renting your place out. And so you can, I think the most flexible would be an Airbnb or type thing where you can jump back in fairly quickly if you think you need to versus having annual leases. Debbie Hersko says, nothing better than being debt free. I started putting money away when I was fairly young and I made my retirement secure. You learn to live within your means, and any large purchases are planned well in advance and paid for without debt, and it becomes a lifestyle. That's true. And if you're a young person listening to that, and there are not very many based on the demographics of this channel, that's really good advice. If you're too old for that and it's too late for that, it's okay. I didn't do that. I'm okay. I'm more than okay. I'm doing amazing. So don't worry about that. Tommy says, great video, hits home, my friend. My plan was a house on Cape Cod, a house in Florida. Between the divorce and my cancer, plans went right down the toilet. Watching you and others like you gives me hope that what little money I've saved will be enough to do what you're doing. I really like the way you're living. Cancer ended my working career. The sun's moving pretty quickly. Sorry about that. Cancer ended I'm sorry to be laughing while talking about your cancer, Tommy. That's not appropriate. Cancer ended my working career at 50, so I lost the main years I was going to be saving. I was putting 20% of my pay away a week, but like you said, things change. Yeah, they do. Even with the best of intentions and best of disciplines, life happens to you in ways you can't predict. But I'm pretty sure, I'm getting to know Tommy pretty well from his comments for the past couple of years, and he's going to be okay. He'll find a way to do the RV life. I know that's what he wants to do. And I think, if I remember right, he's taking care of someone now. I think he's taking care of his mother. Oh, this is a great screen name. Help me retire soon. It says, I'm 54 and a half now, and I want to retire about 58 to 59 and a half and live off 401k money till Social Security kicks in at 62. Then use part of the interest off investments to supplement my Social Security. Only maybe take an extra $1,000 to $1,500 a month extra on $2,000 to $3,000 a month total. I should be able to live very nice with my truck in 7x16 or 8x16 enclosed trailer. Yes. Unless you have very unusual, extraordinary, excessive tastes, you'll live very well on that money. John Thorpe, Rob, I'd like to add that at any age we need to pay ourselves first. I was told this by an older man when I was in high school. What a great cognitive thought process to have about saving money. Because here's what we think, at least I did when I was young. If I take $100 out of my paycheck and put it into some savings account or retirement account, that's $100 I don't have. To me, it's like spending. I want to spend $100 on a new video game or whatever it is that excited me back then. And I didn't think about, you're paying yourself. You're paying yourself, and it's into the future. And I think when we're young, we have a hard time grasping that idea it's a shame because it really, you're paying yourself and you're making it a priority. You pay yourself first than everybody else. And paying yourself first means putting money away for your retirement. When I had my first full-time job that I took home $50 a week, I would save $5 each week. That's much even back in the day, but when I needed money for an emergency, I had it. I enjoy your videos. Thanks, John. That's John Thorpe. JB Barnes, I'm 61 and plan on retiring in my RV. I need two knee replacements first. I enjoy your videos. That hit close to home because I just had a hip replacement. Isn't it amazing how darn quickly the sun moves? And I'm leaning closer and trying to get that glare off my head, off that bald head, and distract you. So I just had a hip replacement. I would have done, if I knew, I would have done it before I hit the road, but I didn't know it. I didn't have the luxury of knowing it. But I have my Pup Camper 58, who you've heard me talk about. Subscribe to her channel. Cheryl has two, just like you, two knee replacements, and she's in her 70s, and she hops up and down in the bed of her truck and does this and that, and hitches and nothing stops that woman. The knee replacements won't stop you. So go for it. Fabio Fagunda says, Venezuela, that's where you want to go live like a king. You know what? I am going to switch locations because I really think this sun is not going to go well for distracting people. Hang on. Okay, how's that? A little better? Sun's behind the RV. Let's see. Venezuela. I don't know anything about Venezuela in terms of retiring down there. I have watched quite a few videos on Mexico, on people, expats that go down and live in Mexico because it's so much less expensive to retire down there. And there are other places. There's places in Europe. People go to Spain. There's a couple that I followed on they traveled in a little school bus for years, and they ended up in their travels falling in love with Panama, and they've been living in Panama, I think, for 4 or 5 years now. There are places in the world outside the United States that are very inexpensive, and it's an alternative to RV life for sure, and many people do it. So that points out there are other things to look at, especially for those of us that haven't really been responsible enough to save and put away money for retirement. Barry and Soul said, enjoyed your video. I'll be 62 in July and I'm hoping to retire at 65. I didn't plan well for retirement though. I converted my Kia Soul to live and try to get out of debt and get an older RV for retirement. Good for you. A lot of people do that. They live in what they've got, and there are plenty of people that I know in this lifestyle that either in the past or now live in a vehicle. Even young people, check out Adventuring with Amanda. She's a young woman in her 30s is it a van? It's not really a van. It's like we used to call them soccer mom vehicles. They're a hybrid kind of van, and she lives in there and she has a blast. She has a ton of fun. And I'm sure she could afford a bigger thing, but she's decided she's happy doing it the way she's doing it. But you can get on the road with what you have. If it's just a vehicle, you can make it work. Sock away money if you want to buy something bigger down the road, and that could be a really good, viable plan that I personally know people have done very successfully. Kathleen Ryan, this is a very good on retirement options. Unfortunately, I was able to have a pension and Social Security. Looks like a nice day there for George to be out and enjoy. You guys want to see where Dottie is? There's Dottie on the front porch in her little bed sleeping. Okay. Here's a pretty long one. This goes on for a long time, but someone that takes this amount of time to write this, they deserve special attention. And the screen name is Super Sushi Dog, and it was 3 days ago. Little, oh, that coffee's good. My Social Security is less than $20,000 a year. Okay, that's the average Social Security for an average American is going to be certainly less than 20,000 a year. But with my wife's Social Security and small pension, we're doing great living full time on the road. So they probably have, she has Social Security, he has, so maybe you can double his number, and there's at least one small pension. Two people can live in an RV together lots cheaper than they can separately. The key is to reducing your expenses. We live full time off grid in a 25-year-old motorhome we got for only $15,000. An older rig is cheaper to register and insure too. It's essential to be debt free as well. We had sufficient for our needs, but not much extra to service a debt load while maintaining an absolutely essential emergency fund for scheduled maintenance and inevitable repairs. Like many people, my 401k was eaten up with hospital and other medical expenses incurred by my first wife. Life happens. What are you going to do? Let your spouse die? Now, my wife and I retired at 62 rather than wait, because you never know how much longer you've got. That big Social Security check of 70 won't do you any good if you die at 69. That too. Plus, you never know what your health will look like as you age. You even have the wherewithal to be able to drive a big coach down the road in your 70s and 80s and even live that long. My mother died at 55, and my brother and father-in-law died in his 50s too. Buying that older, low-mileage, one-owner coach was the best decision I ever made, as it hasn't seen the inside of a shop in the 6 years we've been full-time. Older rigs are often super reliable and dependable. Of course, little things break all the time, so you have to be handy, just like owning a house, but nothing major so far. As soon as we could afford to, we built a big solar system so we no longer need to run our generator or stay in expensive RV parks. We found that we love to boondock, which really saves us a lot of money. There's plenty of boondocking places out west, but we're on the East Coast now visiting family, staying in a convenient RV park in North Carolina. We're camped at a spacious no hookup site, very similar to boondocking, for only $100 a month. We have full access to the dump station, trash pickup, and other amenities, so it's a pretty good deal. By the way, I have a Medicare Advantage plan that gives me back $65 a month that Medicare overcharges me, plus it has great benefits too. Be careful, as there are lots of bad Medicare Advantage plans too, but we're happy with our WellCare PPO plan. Plans are different in every state, so we research your state's options as well. I'll be back 1 second because George just slipped out the gate. Sorry about that, but George, I left the gate open on the porch and he just took off. There are other cats around here and there are coyotes around here, so George is back on the porch. So to continue, the LTVAs in quartzsite are a good deal too. We've wintered over there before, but in 2023-2024 winter, we boondocked on BLM near Yuma, moving every 2 weeks with free dump, water, and trash disposal in Yuma to offset the expense of moving from one side of Yuma to the other every 2 weeks. If you're more sedentary, there's a $170 a month full hookup RV park near Brownsville, Texas we've wintered in before. There's also free Falcon County RV park in Texas where you can stay as long as you like with free water hookup, free dump station, trash disposal, and even free hot showers, but no electrical hookups. It's fine for this though, as we can run everything in our RV just like we're plugged in to a power pole at an RV park powered by the sun. This includes AC heat and our mini split heat pump too. They took this couple, I don't know whether it was him or her that did it, doesn't matter, took a great deal of time to give us that information. And that is super sushi dog 3 days ago on the video that I'm gonna show, if you haven't seen it, it's I'll tell you what it's called. Give me a second here. It is called Retired, Broke, and Out of Options, Why RV Life Still Works. And that was several days ago. You can go on to that video, which it'll show at the end here. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch it. But if you want to go in there and get into the comments and find Super Sushi Dog's comment to thank them for generously giving all this great information. I'm just blown away. Okay, next one. Stanley Sokolow. Anyone who finds himself in difficult financial situation and is contemplating full-time RV living should watch the award-winning movie Nomad Land. And it stars very famous actress Frances McDermott. And it's a beautiful story. It's not a true story. It's a work of fiction, but there's so much truth in the movie. And so many people misunderstand the point of the movie. When I hear someone say, I saw that movie, it was depressing and sad, when in fact it was absolutely beautiful and uplifting. It's a story about a woman that lived in like a company town in, I think, South Dakota. And her husband died and the company shut down, and basically the town shut down, and she lost everything, her house, everything, and she was left in a van. And at the beginning, you see her that she's like in an RV park in the little town, and she can't stay any longer, and she has to leave. So she just hits the road, not knowing where to go. And she finds the nomad community in this movie, and finds not only a way to survive, but a way to recover emotionally and spiritually. And it's a movie, but I'm here to say to you, it does happen that way. I have seen it I have borne witness to it happening in this life. Check out author Deborah Dickinson, or Deborah Dickinson is her RV channel. And she has a traumatic brain injury. She talks quite openly about it. And soon after it happening, the doctors told her, you have maybe a year or two where you're going to have to be institutionalized and maybe not alive. I think Deborah will maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was 10 years ago. Not only is she not in an institution, and she's alive and thriving, and she's a successful author and one of my best friends, and she credits this community and this lifestyle to saving her life. So, Nomadland, watch it. I think it's still on Hulu. All right, Eugene Chopin did a long one too. Thank you, Eugene. Wow, Rob, I only make $16,800 a year, which, by the way, is for a single person, it's below the federal poverty line. But listen to what he has to say about it. I'm 7 years old and I'm living quite comfortably. I don't need a luxurious lifestyle to be happy. My expectations of life is pure survival, not golf courses and swimming pools. Knowing I beat the system and it no longer has a hold on me gives me a sense of relief, comfort, and prosperity. I have yet to make the plunge into doombocking and the nomadic lifestyle, but that's coming soon also. Being a survivalist is not only a challenge, but a lifestyle in a world we have no control over. It can be done if your mind stays positive. A cup of coffee, a cigarette, a comfortable chair, and a sunrise to sunset is all I could ever ask for. Why would we need or want more than that? $27,000 a year may say minimal to you, but to you, with that kind of money, I would live like a king. High on the hog, and probably give away half the money to those who really need it. So in the video, I said, hey, shockingly, the average retirement income in this country for a single person is $27,000 a year. And the point was, hey, that's not much money. But to him, in the lifestyle that he's chosen, that's a lot of money. So it's all relative. It really is. And if your mind stays positive and you choose to value things that don't cost money, then you find abundance in your life. Right? Bob Wells with Cheap RV Living, another great channel. He did a keynote address at Rubber Tramp Rendezvous a few years ago, and he was talking about the idea that what we are all striving for in life is abundance in our life, abundance of good things. And that so many of us pursue it by trying to make as much money as possible to accumulate the things that we think we need for our abundance. When we reduce the needs for things that cost money, we suddenly discover that we have abundance in other amazing ways like I do now. So thank you so much for that. Buck Jones. Rob, this video opened my eyes to how fortunate we have been. We live on retirement income, which is above the national average, but obviously far less than when I was working. We have an RV that's comfortable. We rent a mobile home at a very reasonable price. We have the absolute best neighbors, the best I've ever had. I'm not surprised. I was going to work till 75. I was going to always work, but at 75, I said, I'm done. I have to admit that led to a very blessed life. When one door closes, another one opens. Take care and be well. Beautiful, Buck. Nancy Menderos. Hey, Nancy. Nancy is a very frequent commenter. I have 43 more weeks till I retire. I turn 65 on March 27th, 2026. My Medicare will kick in. And actually, Nancy, your Medicare is going to kick in on March 1st. I learned that. It is the month you turn 65, the first of that month, your Medicare kicks in. You just shaved 27 days off, 26 days. Eve Carrington, thanks for this video and your wisdom. I'm in my 20s and I'm taking your advice about retirement. You're in your 20s and you're watching my channel. That's great. In taking advice about retirement, I've been putting away the max since I started working full-time. Good for you, Eve. Since I started working full-time out of grad school, finished no school loan debt since I had a fellowship, and I'm assuming Social Security will not be there for me. I'll have to live on whatever I can save, so I'm starting early to live on less. I really appreciate the information. I can certainly understand why you think that Social Security won't be there. If you're watching the media and the news and the things that are going on today. I am a subscriber to Martin Luther King's quote, where he says, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I believe that. And this is a man that said that in the 1960s in probably one of the most difficult moments of the civil rights movement. Heck, they killed him. They murdered him. Yet, he had this view about the moral universe that it bends towards justice. He believed that, and I believe that. And I think that taking care of our fellows when they age is justice. So, what am I saying? You're doing great. Put it away as if it's not going to be there. But mark my words right now. It will not only be there, it'll be better. Life is short. Make it something. There's ... but that's the screen name. Best thing you did was pay off all debts. which allows you now the ability to live comfortably and save a bit, especially not having property taxes, HOA fees, city taxes for owning property. I take in less, but I live a fantastic life. Do you think society dictates, paints a picture of what your retirement should look like, but reality is different? Enjoy where you are with gratitude and peace. I love living in my fifth wheel and traveling around in my van. Not for everyone, but it's an option. Wonderful. And that's pretty much all I had so many of these amazing comments in stories, really not comments, but stories of people's lives in retirement. And I thought this would make a great follow-up video to share with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure enjoyed making this video. It was fun. I will see you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.